Okay, all right, we're back. Hello again, everybody. I'm here with PharaohHazard. We are doing another review for you. This time we're doing the 13th Floor, an interesting sci-fi kind of. It's a neo-noir film, which is
Yeah.
interesting. From 1999, everyone's favorite year. Well, one of the favorite years, a fun year. A lot of interesting films that year. Yeah, and so this was an interesting choice for us to do. Like, I don't know, I feel like neither one of us really had a high awareness of this film before we watched it for this, right?
I did not know.
Yeah, I feel like I basically never really heard of this film. I just kind of saw it, probably related to Dark City. It just like, I know, I'm a big IMDb like user, so that's where I like either get a lot of movies that I kind of basically movie recommendations, or like, oh, if you like this is related to it. And I know this is kind of, we'll talk about what this film is kind of like related to, but I feel like that's the reason why. But I'm glad we watched it. I liked it personally.
I really liked it too. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting take on. Would you say this is like cyberpunkish? Maybe a little bit, not totally, but
Sort of, kind of. I feel like it tiptoes the line really well.
yeah.
I think they wanted to have just enough cyberpunk, but just enough realism.
Yeah. Because there is some like kind of, I forget. Do they really jack into the simulation?
There's no plugs or any weird thing they put on their head, but they kind of lay down on like this. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
My bad. They kind of lay down on this table basically, and I'm assuming the table has some sort of plug-in capabilities. And then there's this green light. It's very minimalist as far as like
it is
a virtual reality movie goes. It's very minimalist.
Yeah, they don't want to have to like do a bunch of work to like.
They don't want to explain it.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to explain. They just want to, okay, we're jacking into the Matrix and just accept it. And we're like, okay, I accept it.
I accepted it. I was just like, okay, yeah, they're doing their thing. They know what they're doing, apparently. So I guess I'll just trust the characters.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, let's dive in here to the plot. So this movie starts off and it's like the 1930s Los Angeles.
Swing
okay.
time.
Yeah, and they're like at some big kind of fancy party. Some, one of those hotels or whatever, one of the places where like the swanky people would come to party or whatever during the Depression. And so we see this. Yeah, no, I mean this is like a Depression era.
No,
like,
totally.
It's the 1930s. Yeah, but these people they're not in a depression.
What is poor?
There was this interesting cartoon I saw from that era where it was like a bunch of rich people, and they're like, oh, I guess we should go out and spend money to end this depression. And they're in this giant mansion, and it's just the two of them, and they have all this pearls and wealth and stuff, and it's like how messed up the economy was at the time. It's totally craziness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then we see this guy. I forget. So yeah, because so this is the thing that happens now that we have these different layers, right, of how the universe works. I think his name was Grierson. So we see this guy Grierson, and he leaves a letter with this bartender, and the bartender is Ashton, Jerry Ashton. So he leaves in this letter. The bartender opens it and reads it, and we're kind of left kind of being like, okay, I wonder why he did that. And then this guy Grierson comes home to his wife, and then we see the same guy kind of basically come out of the simulation, and we see that guy. So the guy that we saw in the schwanky 1930s Hollywood, or wherever they were, that guy is now in basically like what is the equivalent of present day big city somewhere, right?
Yeah, I was assuming it might be also Los Angeles. I feel like it kind of made sense because like if you base it on what you know, which is if you've lived in Los Angeles most of your life, you'll base your virtual reality world on something very fairly similar. Plus, it might be fun for the user to be like, oh, I know that street, but now it looks totally different.
It's also, you know, again, like we were saying, this is a neo-noir, and so it's basically playing. It's kind of funny. So like this is the fun thing I think that this film does is like it's a noir film, so it's sort of a detective story or like a private detective story about a mystery, and so it's kind of playing itself on both levels. So it's like the normal world is the neo-noir world of the present day that we know of, but it's also going into the simulation, which is the 1930s Hollywood of the classic noir world that we know from, you know, the films from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that's kind of a fun thing that the movie's doing.
Oh, totally.
You know, yeah, and so then we see the guy that we're seeing is Hannon Fuller. So that's like his normal self, basically. But when he doesn't, you know, go into the simulation, he's this other guy.
Yeah, Grierson is like his avatar, essentially.
Exactly. Grierson is the avatar, and Hammond is the user. It's so crazy. So then he goes to this bar and he makes a phone call. He's talking to some guy, and we just hear him say, "This will change everything." And then we see him like look out this door, like this door opens, and he looks out the door. He goes out there, and he like sort of says something, and we just see him get stabbed to death. Boom, he's dead. And so we got our mystery here, murder mystery. This guy got killed. We don't know why, and we don't know who did it. So those are all the things that we kind of want to figure out, and also like, right, like what's going on with the simulated world.
I was gonna say it's kind of like a double mystery, like who murdered the old guy, and what is this discovery that's going to change everything? So,
yeah.
And he's the only one that knows about it so far.
He's the only one that knows so far. Okay, so then like, you know, we get the classic kind of stuff. The LAPD identifies the body. And then they talk to this guy. So Douglas Hall. Yes, Douglas Hall. So, and he's played by Craig Bierko, I believe is his name. Yeah, we'll talk about the cast in a bit. The casting of this movie was interesting, to say the least. But yeah, we'll have a discussion about that. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are. And he's also kind of, so there's this other guy on the case. So was he a private detective or was he an LAPD cop? The guy, Detective Larry.
I don't think he's a private detective. I think he's a cop. I think he's like an actual LAPD cop. Yeah. He knows a lot about the case.
Yeah.
More than I feel like just some private detective would at that point, because it's still really, really early. Because the movie takes place actually over a fairly short period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty quick when they're figuring out what's going on. So yeah, it's Detective Larry McBain.
McBain. I love
McBain. And McBain is like on the case. And he's like, you can tell he's one of those like he won't rest until he figures out what the hell's going on kind of guys.
He's a hard ass.
Yeah, exactly. And so then there's this whole thing where like, you know, he's talking to the detective, and then Douglas literally just in his apartment just waiting for him to show up. And they just like have a discussion, and also it seems like, you know, the detective, he's like, wait, you're the daughter? Even he's kind of surprised. Yeah. And so the daughter is played by Gretchen Mol, who's like kind of she was big in the 90s. And yeah, so so we haven't met the other version, but like the bartender was played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and Dennis Haysbert plays the detective. I think most people probably know what commercials does he do. It's like
Allstate.
He does Allstate. Yeah, he does Allstate.
He does Allstate. He was also in the first season of 24.
Was he the president?
Yeah, he was the president in the first season of 24, or maybe and the second. I never watched it. I just remember his face because I like him. I think he's a decent actor, but he does do the Allstate commercials.
Yeah. So what'd you think of this cast?
It was pretty good. Like, I recognized almost she was the only one that she seemed vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what else she has been in. Ellie, the actor who plays Douglas, I only remember because he was in A Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis. And he played the bad guy in that, and he was so good in that. Like he was just like, okay, I'm gonna be a bad guy. I'm gonna be the bad guy.
I can see him being good at being bad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has this whole spiel in like A Long Kiss Goodnight where he's like, I can always tell when someone's lying to me. I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, you can't. You're just a psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. You're just a psycho, and you're just trying to like scare people.
Yeah, and so it's funny seeing him in that, which I think probably came out around the same time period, probably within 2 years of each other. So to see him play that character and then seeing him in the 13th Floor, I'm like, okay, you can do both. That's cool. You can do both.
Yeah, The Long Kiss Goodnight was 96.
Yep. So. And that's a really good movie too.
Yeah, that's like an action comedy, right?
Yeah, it was written by Shane Black, so that's all you really need to know.
Exactly. Yeah, that is all I need to know. Yeah, he's really funny. So yeah, I mean, I felt like so. I definitely liked a lot of them. I just feel like Craig was kind of a bit miscast. It's really hard because all these movies, we'll talk later about other movies that are like similar to this. I feel like you really need the right protagonist character.
Okay,
you need the right guy. Because like one of the things that comes to my mind with this, because like these things are all also like neo-noirs were really big at this time too. What was that movie? The one with Sharon Stone. I forget, where she's like has the ice pick and she's like a novelist and she like always kills her lovers.
Basic Instinct?
Yeah, Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct was like really big, and like some other Body Heat, these kind of movies where it was just like these sexual thrillers, where it's like the kind of give us some kind of overt sexual stuff, push the boundaries.
Oh yeah, heavily erotic.
Yeah.
To the point of like, yeah, I'm desensitized at this point. Why not?
Yeah. But Michael Douglas was like the lead of that film, and I feel like he was like the right person to put opposite her. This film, I felt like, I don't know, I just he didn't really come off. I don't know. I always look at that dude. I swear, from like the jump, I was like, dude, I don't trust this dude.
Oh, I definitely think he was guilty from like the word go. I'm like, I believe you don't remember, but I don't believe you didn't.
But you look like a killer. I mean, he just looks like a American Psycho kind of dude,
Oh yeah, totally. I can't really think of anyone else I would have cast though either. That's the thing. I kind of like that they cast someone who wasn't necessarily like a Ethan Hawke or Christian Bale at the time, because I feel like that would have been really obvious. Because I mean, just from American Psycho, like Christian Bale can definitely do that.
Yeah. Ethan Hawke would have been interesting.
Maybe a Brad Pitt might have been okay.
Well, Brad Pitt would be great. Yeah.
Because
I feel like Brad Pitt's like kind of unfortunately at that time above this movie.
Yeah, probably. He was
doing Fight Club in the same year, so
yeah, so he was probably already beyond that. But
yeah,
I don't know if he was terribly miscast or if it was good casting. He was fine for me personally. But maybe it's one of those characters, because of the content of the story, anybody could have played him. I mean, really anybody could have done it. I don't think him and what was her name, Gretchen Muller?
Gretchen.
I did not buy that. I did not buy that story. I was like, you don't have any chemistry whatsoever.
I know.
Like, it does feel like you're acting. I don't feel like you actually like each other. It was. I mean, Harrison Ford and what's her name in Blade Runner hated each other. Other. She played Rachel in Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Like they neither one of them liked each other. And Sean Young. And I believed that love story more.
Yeah. It's also like, that one was another weird one too, because like she's also playing her character as a robot. That's what makes the sex scenes purposefully awkward.
Extremely. That's one of the things I dislike the most about the movie. Like, I like Blade Runner, but I'm just kind of like, that's I don't like this.
Oh, I saw the final cut in theaters a long time ago. At this point now, it might have been 8 years ago. And the audience's reaction to that scene was like something else because it was very negative.
Yeah,
I mean, people were like awkwardly laughing and like basically talking, and they were like, "Whoa, is this like a rape? Like, what the fuck?"
So yes, I'm gonna look at my phone now. Tell me when it's over. Like,
yeah, but that's interesting because like they purposely made her like do the choice of being like basically she didn't know what to do because she's a robot. She's like, you know, what do I do? And then so then he just, you know, he did what he did.
So he was a piece of shit all along. So. Yeah, I like that movie, but I'm not in love with it like I used to be. I'm just still just like, yeah, Rutger Hauer's the victim, by the way. So
he is, yeah. They're all the victim. They're all the
victims.
They're slaves. They're literally slaves.
Yeah,
they're literally slaves. You know.
Exactly, and I know that that's like the point of the story, but like, I don't want to be the guy who says Blade Runner's overrated because then everybody will come after me. But I think there's also better movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's good about Blade Runner is the way like Ridley Scott did an amazing job of like creating the look of
yes,
and he was very involved in the production design too. He was very involved in that, and both of those things make the film incredible, like truly incredible. Just the visuals of it are amazing. Though even to be honest, like the plot is kind of whatever, and the story is kind of he's basically a detective where all the things just fall into his lap. Pretty much.
Yeah, he gets really lucky with a lot of things. I don't get the impression that Deckard's actually that good at his job. He seems kind of washed up, and I feel like it created this standard of a tech noir detective, basically, because there's a very similar character in the Expanse series who's basically Deckard's character. It is still better in so many different ways. There's even like a he's not a detective, but in Altered Carbon, he's the main character, and that's very much like everyone's trying to do Harrison Ford's Deckard, and I'm just kind of over it. But the movie is beautiful. No one can take that away from Ridley Scott. The movie helped launch an entire genre of a type of sci-fi futuristic movie that we hadn't really seen too much for. And the movie looks clean. And I know that's probably because it's been remastered like a whole bunch of times, but it does have this very clean looking feeling to it. The colors are really great. The costumes are amazing.
Yeah, they are.
But
yeah, the final cut is really beautiful. They did a great restoration of it. Like the 4K final cut. It's gorgeous. And they they had a lot of really good material to work from, and they just used current color correction to just enhance it. So
and I like the whole cast. Like the whole cast is very like of that time period. I love that.
Yeah. Nope. I think she froze. Oh. All right, we'll see when Lily's gonna come back. She's frozen here. Might have some internet problems. Oh no. Let's see if she's on Twitter. Well, thank you, James Pond. No Time to Cry. Appreciate that. Yeah, James Pond says, this is my favorite channel. If that's genuine, I appreciate it. All right, well, we're having some technical difficulties. I'm going to stop this broadcast for now, but we might be back later. All right, thanks a lot.